You often hear stories about people getting lucrative jobs as a developer without any formal training. And while this definitely does work out for some people, I don't think it is the right path to take for most aspiring developers. If you're new here, my name is Jarle, and on Early Owl, we figure out how to get where we want. I'll just start out by saying that you absolutely don't have to get a degree to become a developer. When you get a degree, there's basically two main ingredients. There is what you learn, and then also just getting this piece of paper. When it comes to the learning part, I don't think there's any other field which has as many great, completely free resources, learning communities, courses, and basically anything you need to learn to become a good developer. Through the internet, you can learn anything related to coding as well or better than any university is going to teach you. You also don't need a degree to get a good job. I have the perfect example of this from my own company, SafetyWing, where we have this chap named Dino. I think he is 21 now. At least I remember on our last team gathering in the US, he was not allowed to drink alcohol. And even though he is pretty young and doesn't have a degree in programming, he is still one of our main developers and has like the same salaries and the same benefits and everything else as I do. His story is basically that he's self-taught and had been working some with development before. And then he joined the company as a contractor helping out one of our other developers. And as our need for more developers grow, he kind of gradually got more responsibility and eventually got promoted to kind of a full-time, fully fledged team member. Now, I think both his case and SafetyWing is a bit of an outlier in terms of how much room there is to progress quickly if you contribute. But the point still stands that there's a bunch of people who don't have formal training, who start at some point and then they get a full-time job and are at the same level as any other developer. So if you don't need a 3-year degree to become a developer, then why should you get it? If you already know how to code or you have some previous work experience, then I don't think there's much reason to get one. I think a big part of the allure of being a self-taught developer is that many people see this as the easy way out. Like you can just sit at home on your computer and learn some stuff for like a year or two, and then you can get like a really nice, well-paid job. But my opinion is that it's the complete opposite. Going to study and getting a degree is the easy way out, and while it's possible to be self-taught, that is definitely the harder way to do it. Going the way of being self-taught requires much more conviction and just motivation to see it through, and you're like 10 times more likely to give up. Like, I don't know how many people I've met or I've known that have kind of said, oh, I'm like trying to learn to be a developer on the side, and it just, nothing ever comes of it. Whereas most people I've seen go into college or go into getting a degree in programming have ended up becoming programmers. And then you need to structure your own learning, which is not just difficult because there are so many different paths to go down, but it can also become a second element of doubt because you're thinking like, am I doing this the right way? Is this ever going to pay off? And stuff like that. When you're learning it yourself, it also becomes something that you're kind of doing in your spare time, and life just has a tendency to get in the way. If you have another job, then that is often going to sap you of like a lot of the energy and motivation you need to get it done. And even if you don't have another job or any other major responsibilities, it's still just much easier to shirk on the responsibilities of what you're learning for yourself, because there's always tomorrow and there's no like set path of progression that you have to follow. And when it comes to getting a job, it's your own responsibility to kind of build out a body of work through like creating your own projects or internships or open source things, just to show that you kind of know how to develop to compensate for not having a degree. And if you're looking for a job without any degree and without any experience, you also need to be a bit less picky on what type of jobs you're willing to accept. The main reason why I think getting a degree is a good idea for new developers is that they kind of just take on the burden of a lot of the things you need to figure out on yourself. You just need to show up and kind of learn what you're told and do the tests and whatever they ask of you. And if you do that for 3 years, then you'll get out with a degree, which is a pretty good chance of landing a job. And even if you just do the bare minimum, you probably won't be a very good developer at the end of it, but you will at least have enough to kind of get into a job, and then you can specialize and get good from there. On the other hand, if you do go the extra mile on everything you're asked to do and you tinker and develop a lot and get good during the program, then it's also completely possible to get a job while you're studying for the degree. That's basically what I did in the first year. I was just studying and I was kind of tinkering a lot on my own. And then after the first year, I got a summer internship, which led to a full-time job. And at that point, I think I could have just quit my degree and just worked at that company for a few years, and I would have ended up where I am now regardless. but I decided to just follow along with the program and kind of do the assignments and exams I had to while I was working at that job. So I got the degree at the end, even though I don't think it really matters. So the main thing about getting a degree is that you're kind of sectioning off a few years of your life where this is the main priority, and they lay out the path that you just need to follow. But there's a bunch of other benefits to studying as well. Like you meet a bunch of people, which is obviously good for making friends, but it's also great for future jobs or like networking opportunities, or if you're looking to start a company or like a gaming studio or something like that, then a bunch of those things happen with people you met while you're studying. For some people in some countries, I know that getting a degree mostly just comes down to whether or not this is what you want to be doing with your time. But then in other countries or for other people, also, there is like a very big price tag to getting a degree. This is particularly true for the US. So you might want to kind of dabble some with development and figure out if it's right for you, because it's definitely not right for everyone. But the US also has the highest salaries for developers anywhere in the world. So as long as you're just committed to doing this and you think it's right for you and you're going to follow through on it and put in the effort to get a decent job, then I think with a US developer salary that the student loan becomes manageable and you don't have to go to like the most expensive school or get the most amount of loan possible. So just to summarize, if you already know how to code and you already have some work experience, then you definitely don't need to get a degree. But if you are completely new to programming and you're looking at this as a potential career, then the only thing I will say is don't look at being self-taught as the easy way out. If you see being self-taught as kind of a challenge that you think you're ready to do and you just want to prove to yourself and anyone else that you can do it, then by all means go for it, and it's completely possible. But if you see being self-taught as kind of the easy way out, so you don't have to go through all that school nonsense and you can just get a nice job, then I would say the chances of failing while doing that are much higher than the chances of failing just going through the school. And the school is worth it for a bunch of other reasons in itself. I think what tends to happen to a lot of people who say that they don't need to get a degree because they can just learn it on their own is that they basically never do it. And one reason why I feel kind of confident in this point is that this is exactly what happened to me. I knew if I was ever going to start any type of career that it would be kind of within the realm of development or software engineering or anything like that. But I never pursued any education until I was 25. And one of the rationalizations there I told myself is that, oh, but if I wanted to learn it, I can just do it on my own. So I'll just do that. And while that was completely true that I could learn it on my own, at the end of the day, I just never did it. And I never got anywhere until I started the program. And then as soon as I kind of had a path to follow, I could kind of rush ahead on that path. The next step after getting a degree is getting a job. So I'll tackle that in my next video where I'll go through why I think you should be working in a startup. I'll link this here, but until it's out, there will be something else here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Wednesday.